Do you want an advantage in business? If you focus on this one thing, you will get the greatest advantage you can give to yourself as a business owner and to your team if they work for you. And that one advantage is solid organizational health. Because here's the truth. Great marketing and great sales are never going to be able to solve for an unhealthy organization.
Let's go. I don't know what comes next, but I couldn't care less. I refuse to be stressed. There's no fear in my chest. Hit a move with my steps. Walk away from the pain I've been through. This feeling I'm feeling is brand new. This is the moment I break through.
Welcome to Minute Masterclass, your weekly mic drop for business breakthrough. I'm your host and lead MC, Trey Sheneman, and it's our goal every week on Minute Masterclass to teach you timeless business principles to help you solve today's business problems. Now, the way that we do that is through what we call the core 4 drivers of growth. So if you've not figured this out about me, maybe this is your first episode. Somebody shared this with you. If so, shout out to whoever that is. Thank you. If you don't know anything about me, I have run growth for the last 16 years. About half of that time I spent running growth inside of organizations, some of which you've probably heard of before, especially if you've been around like the Christian public figure space. Or the other half of the time I spent running growth inside of agencies that I was a partner in, which meant I was also then running growth for all of our clients. That's what they were coming to us for. And it doesn't matter in any of those situations. Every time I've seen growth become predictable, it has to do with solving bottlenecks, issues, problems inside of one of the 4 core areas of growth: marketing, sales, operations, and leadership. In today's episode, we're going to dive deep into leadership, specifically talking about my favorite author of all time, Pat Lencioni. Pat Lencioni, I just love the way that he writes. He kind of has this fable way that he writes and teaches about business principles. I love it. Kind of a little known fact about me, I grew up being a spoken word poet. I still do spoken word poetry from time to time now. So I appreciate the creative lens with which Pat Lencioni brings to the table. And he's written several books. He's got a lot of great books. As a matter of fact, every one of our new clients, I send them a Pat Lencioni book as a part of a welcome gift when they hire Harold. But my favorite Pat Lencioni book that we're going to do a deep dive in today is called The Advantage. And the whole premise of the book, The Advantage, is that organizational health isn't a part of the game of business. It is the game of business. That the ability for you to build a thriving culture inside of an organization is the greatest marker on whether or not that business is going to stand the test of time and grow. So we're going to talk about some of the lessons that I learned, some of the notes that I took reading this Pat Lencioni book, The Advantage. So let's jump in. So a little bit about Pat. If you don't know or have never heard of Pat, you can go check him out. He runs an organization called The Table Group. He's written several other books. Maybe you've heard of The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, or Death by Meeting, or The Motive, or The Ideal Team Player. All great books. But this book, The Advantage, when I read it, I think it was the 3rd book that I read by Pat. And I realized that success in a business really ultimately is a measure of healthiness. Healthiness in the founder, healthiness in the team, healthiness in the clients. Like, all those things have to be true in order for a business to grow. So being healthier in the business is actually more important than being smarter in the business or being smarter at businesses. See, most businesses, anytime I even go to networking events, and listen, I can find myself being subjected to this as well, partially because I'm a 3 on the Enneagram, and I really want to achieve and be liked and fit in and all the things. It's stuff I'm working on. But the truth is, when you go to these networking events, or you get around other businesses, or maybe you go to a conference, most of the conversation is going to be around strategy, or marketing, or sales, or technology, or systems that they're building. And it's rare for you to meet a founder and be like, oh my gosh, we just have the healthiest team culture that you've ever seen. It's the whole focus of what we're working on. I'm not trying to get all sappy, but I'm just saying it's not something that's top of mind for a lot of people. But all of those other things they talk about, it's not that they're not important. They are important. They're kind of, they're parts of the legs of the bar stool of running a good business, for sure. Sales and marketing and strategy, all the things. But if your organization is dysfunctional or divided or built on distrust instead of trust, it doesn't matter how good you're going to be at those things. You're going to have turnover. You're going to have backbiting going on, gossip. But man, if you can focus on having a healthy team where they genuinely value each other, they genuinely want to see each other win, they want to see the company win, man, you want to see a multiplication happen on your business. A healthy team is a multiplier in a huge way. So in this book, The Advantage, Pat teaches us the signs or the pillars that you can see to know that you're headed towards the healthiest organization possible. And I just want to walk through what those things were, because again, this book really changed my life. It changed the way that I lead. I just read it again for a second time here recently. The first focus is you got to build a cohesive leadership team. The leadership's got to be more than just you. You got to have a team around you. And the biggest thing to make a leadership team cohesive is going to be trust. Because if not, politics will creep in, decisions will slow down, silos will form. Trust has to be the foundation of a leadership team. And it's not predictive trust, like just them trusting each other because they work together. It's vulnerability based trust. You need to make sure that the team knows really who each other is. They know their spouse's names and their kids' names and their values and things that are important to them. Because when you have vulnerability based trust, where they've been honest with each other, they've really been to the fire together, your business is going to grow. So that's number one. The second thing is, once you have organizational based trust, you have got to create clarity. Clarity. Most dysfunction comes from confusion, not actually from like conflict. It's just because people are unsure, or they're misled, or they're not certain. So one of the things that Pat talks about in this book is the 6 questions that a leadership team must answer together. So powerful. Number 1, why do we exist as a business? Number 2, how do we behave? Number 3, what do we actually do? Like, what are we in the business of? Number 4, how will we succeed? How will we know what winning looks like? What's most important right now above all else? And who of us must do what? If you have clarity around those 6 things as a leadership team inside of your company at all times, your team won't help themselves but being healthy, okay? This is actually how you start to build some of that vulnerability-based trust. Now, once you have the answers to those 6 questions, now you have to over-communicate clarity. Clarity is this weird thing that when people leave a room, somehow they get unclear real quick. So one of the things we have to do is we have to fight against that by over communicating clarity. Leaders get tired of saying things long before teams get tired of hearing them. Okay. So repeat your mission, repeat the priorities, repeat the playbook over and over again. A good behavior when you've gotten, to the answer of those 6 questions is to keep the answers top of mind and go over them every time you have a weekly strategy meeting or an L10 or some sort of an all hands, whatever it is. Just remind your team constantly about what you are clear about, what you are agreeing to, and what matters most for what you're doing. And a thing that I tell myself a lot is, even if I've said it 10 times, they probably only listened once. And I hope that's not true, but it's a good reminder for me of making sure that the team is super clear. We've got a strategy meeting coming up next week. And I actually built it. It's the first time I've ever done this. Rather than showing them the document day of, I built the agenda a week or 2 ago. I sent it out to the team. I told them to review it and ask me questions ahead of time. I really dialed in the meeting minutes for the day because I want this to be a hyper clarity kind of meeting event at the end. And I have a high expectation of the speed and the growth of our team coming out of this meeting in quarter 3 and quarter 4 because of the way that it's been set up. The fourth thing, so again, the first thing is a healthy leadership team. The second thing is creating clarity by answering the 6 questions. The third thing is over communicating that clarity. The fourth thing is reinforcing the clarity with your systems. Your hiring process should reinforce your culture. Your meetings should then reinforce your priorities, and your rewards that you give out should reinforce your behaviors. It's all connected. Our systems that drive for clarity, because your systems ultimately are like a whisper of your values. They show you and your team what's actually important to you. And the other thing is a lack of systems will scream dysfunction. Okay. This is a huge area of growth for me right now. We are trying to build more systems inside of our business, and I need so much help with it. And thankfully I've got some great people around me. So those are the 4 steps. If you can get through those 4 steps, organizational health is almost a surety in your business. So when I learned this, it was 2017, 2018. everything started to click for me. I stopped, even though my title was VP of strategy in the firm that I was a partner in at the time. I realized that my number one job actually wasn't strategy. My number one job was clarity for the team, clarity for the clients. And if I created clarity, they would trust me more and we would be able to do better strategy together. So every growth ceiling that I've ever hit since then, most of the time, I think every single one wasn't even really like a strategy ceiling or a lack of good thinking ceiling. It was something was broken organizationally and the health of the team. And we really needed to lean in and figure out what it was. So this week, ask yourself the question, are we trying to be a smart organization, a cutting edge organization, a trendy organization? Or are we trying to be a healthy one? Because if you want to win at work, but your team feels burned out, divided, or confused, you are not winning. So read The Advantage as a leadership team if you have to. I really hope you'll take to heart what Pat taught you through me in this podcast, because growth happens at the speed of trust, and trust happens when people are clear. So give people clarity and watch how fast they grow. Hope you got something out of this. Until next time, we'll see you on the flip side.